Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Tutorial Test Prep. Today we will be going over Ottocento number 2, unit conversions. The goal of the Ottocento course is to teach students everything they need to know about the digital SAT math exam. Please see the link in the description to download this video's worksheet for free. Let's get started. Okay, so first thing we need to know are some must-know unit conversions. So some of these are going to seem kind of silly, but I feel the need to go over it just for the sake of clarity. So there's 60 seconds in 1 minute, 60 minutes in 1 hour, and then this last one might not be quite as obvious. 60 times 60 is 3,600. So there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. And you are expected to know all three of these going into the digital SAT math test. Now, pretty much everything else they're going to give you, so you don't need to worry about it. A very common misconception, I think this is a thing on some other tests where you need to know like some common American units, inches and feet and stuff like that. So many international students take the SAT that they know better than to not do that. So they will pretty much give you every single unit conversion you need to know. So just the three that I have on screen are the ones that are most important. All right, skill number 1, units from words. So the concept here is pretty much whenever you see the words each and per, either of those words usually indicate that there's division going on in a unit. So for example, very common thing we say in America is 60 miles per hour. It's like the speed limit on a highway. So miles per hour, the units are actually, we would write that when we're doing math, we would write it as miles divided by hour. Let's do a quick example at the whiteboard. Okay, so for this guy, it says we want to find the rate in revolutions per minute. So we're going to do revolutions divided by minute. So they tell us 500 revolutions. So that's going to go on the top. And 40 minutes. And let's see what that gives us. 500 divided by 40 is 12.5. So we would write this as 12.5 revolutions per minute. And that is our answer. Okay, let's move on to the next skill. Okay, the second skill is we're going to do one-step unit conversions using the factor label method. So here's a problem. Squirrel has a length of 10 inches. What is the squirrel's length in centimeters? And just like always on the SAT, they give us the necessary unit conversion. And what we're going to do is we're going to first write down the thing they're asking us to convert, which is the 10 inches. And then we're going to put a parenthesis with either 1 inch on the top or bottom and then 2.54 centimeters on the top or bottom of the fraction. So you pretty much have a 50-50 chance of getting this right. So what you do is, hopefully once you practice, you start to see kind of what goes where just by intuition. But what you do is you set it up and then you treat the division sign kind of like a fence. And if the units are on the opposite side, the same unit is on opposite sides of the fence, then they cancel. So you see here, I did a good job. Inch and inch are on opposite sides, so they're going to cancel. If you had it the other way, if you had 1 inch on top and 2.54 centimeters on the bottom, inches would be on the same side, so it would not cancel, so you wouldn't be able to convert the unit. So just before you move on, always check to make sure that the unit that you want to cancel is on opposite sides of the division sign, and you physically cross it out with your pencil so that you can see what units you are left with. So we're left with centimeters, which is what we want. So we're all good. So all we got to do is now go into Desmos or our calculator and type in 10 times 2.54 over 1. And that'll give us our answer, which for this guy is 25.4 centimeters. Okay, let's do another example at the whiteboard. Okay, so this one says a hiking trail is 6,160 yards. Okay, so that's what we're starting with. So we're going to write that down first. And now I'm going to make a parenthesis. And I'm going to put 1760 yards. We're going to use the unit conversion with yards in it, which is this one. So we're using this guy. And it does have yards in it, so that unit conversion is good. We don't need to do anything to it. And then I'm going to put the other part of the unit conversion on the bottom. But looks like I made a mistake here because when I go to cancel, I see the units of yards are on the same side, so it's not going to cross out. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to realize that I made that mistake, and I'm going to switch these guys. Like I said, pretty much a 50-50 chance of doing it correctly every time you go to do a step of a unit conversion. So 1 mile goes on the top, 1760 yards goes on the bottom. And as you can see, yards is on opposite sides of the division sign, so we can cross this out. And we should be left with miles, and we are. So now all we got to do is go into a calculator and put all these numbers in. And I would type it just exactly as written. Don't do anything in your head because that increases the chance of making a mistake. So I'm going to do 6160 parenthesis 1 over 1760. And I get 3.5. So the answer for this guy would be 3.5 miles. And of course, you could change that to a fraction and put 7/2, but 3.5 works pretty good for our purposes here. All right, that's how you do a one-step unit conversion using the factor label method. Let's move on to the next skill. Okay, skill number 3 is a multi-step unit conversion using the factor label method. So we have this problem. Corn plant has a height of 96 inches. What is the corn plant's height in yards? And they tell us there's 12 inches in a foot and 3 feet in a yard. So we're basically going to do the same thing we did last time. We're just going to do it for a multi-step. We're going to do it 2 or 3 times. Usually you don't see unit conversion more than 2 steps on the SAT. Maybe once in a very blue moon there's a 3-stepper, but for the most part they're 1 or 2 steps. So we're going to first write down what we're given, which is the 96 inches. And now I'm going to go, okay, which unit conversion has inches in it? Well, only one of them does, the 12 inches in a foot. So we're going to make a parenthesis, and we're going to either put 12 inches and 1 foot on the top or bottom accordingly. We're going to put inches on the bottom so that it cancels out with the 96 inches given in the problem. So the units of inches are both on opposite sides of inch sign, so it cancels, so we can cross it out with our pencil. And now, if we were to stop right now and type this in our calculator, we would have the length in feet. But that would just take a lot of time, so it's far better if you just kind of continue writing the rest of the conversion as I'm about to do here. So we've got feet, so we want a conversion factor with feet in it. Well, the 3 feet equals 1 yard, that has feet in it. So we're going to use that one. And we're going to accordingly put 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom so that the unit that we want to cancel cancels. And I put feet on the bottom so that it cancels out with the foot. It's just singular feet on the top. And those are the same unit, so they do cancel, and we can cross it out with our pencil. And we're left with yards. So now if we go to our calculator and type in 96 parentheses 1 over 12 parentheses 1 over 3, we should get our answer, and we get 2.666 yards. You also could put the equivalent improper fraction, that would be acceptable as well. Kind of depends, you know, if they don't say anything about rounding, just go with the improper fraction. If they do mention like round to the 10th, round to the 100th, or it comes out nicely, you can just use the decimal. Okay, let's do another example at the whiteboard. Okay, so for this one, we are told that we have 90 Sarpler. So that's what we're going to start with. And we now want to use a unit conversion with Sarpler in it, which is this one. 1 Sarpler equals 80 Tods. So I'm going to come over here, and I want Sarpler to cancel. So I'm going to put 1 Sarpler on the bottom and 80 Tods on the top. And let me check. Are they on opposite sides of the division sign? They are. So the Sarpler can get crossed out. And we're left with Todd. So now we want to use a unit conversion with Tods in it. So I see that's this one here. And we're going to make another parentheses. And once again, I'm going to put 3 Tods. I'm going to put Tods on the bottom, hoping that I can get it to cancel. 84 pounds on the top. And we do have Tods on opposite sides of the division sign. They're the same unit, so they cancel out. And now we're left with pounds. So we want to use a unit conversion with pounds in it, which is this one. So now we're going to come over here, and I'm going to put 2240 pounds and 160 stone on the top, and pounds. And let's just again draw that little fence just to make this kind of even clear. And pounds is on opposite side division side, so we can cross that out. So we're left with stone. And if we go and type 90 and all this big mess into our calculator, we should get our answer. So please, please, please make sure you know how to do that. I'm going to do it on the screen now. You'd hate to do all this work and then not get it right because you don't know how to type it in the calculator, right? That would be terrible. So we're going to do 90 parentheses 80 divided by 1. Desmos makes this nice and easy. 84 divided by 3. And I'm just going to type it exactly as written. I don't want to... There's no reason for me to increase the chance of making a careless mistake by doing some of this fraction math in my head. It's also going to slow me down if I do that. Okay, 160 over 240. Okay, so I type it in just like that. And we should get 14,400. So let's jot that down. Let me just double check. 90 times 80 over 1 times 84 over 3, 160 over 240. Good. Okay, so we should get 14,400 stone as our answer. Okay, that's how you do a multi-step unit conversion. Let's move on to the next skill. Okay, so skill number 4 is rate unit conversions. So let's look at this problem. A pool is being filled at a rate of 120 gallons per hour. What rate is the pool being filled at in milliliters per second? Round to the nearest tenth. So they give us the conversion for gallons and milliliters, but they don't give us the conversion for seconds and hours. So remember, that's something you need to know. So I'm going to, as soon as I would start this problem, I would write that down next to my work. 3,600 seconds is equal to 1 hour. We talked about that at the beginning of the video. So see, they gave me the one about the volume, but they didn't give me the one about the time. So you got to remember to recall that and write it down when you go to start a question like this, just like we did. All right, so we're going to write down 120 gallons per hour. If you want, just to make it easier to see, some kids like to put a 1 on the bottom just to make it more visibly look like a fraction. And I did that here. I probably won't do it later in the video, but don't pay much attention to that. You don't need that 1 on the bottom if you don't want it. You could just put 120 and then gallons over hour. And now we're going to, it doesn't matter which you tackle first. I'm going to choose to tackle the gallons first. So, okay, so I'm going to make parentheses. I'm going to put gallons on the bottom and then milliliters on the top so that they cancel. And we see gallons and gallons. They're both on opposite side of the division sign, so we can cross them out. And now we're going to make another parenthesis, and this is really weird and awkward and tough to get used to, but as long as you practice, you should be okay. We're going to put like another parenthesis with the 3600 seconds 1 hour. And this is a little weird. You might be kind of inclined to put the 1 hour on the bottom, but you'd find that wouldn't work. We're canceling something not from the top, but from the bottom. Like, it's different than what we were doing before. So the 1 hour has to go on the top, and the 3600 seconds has to go on the bottom. Many people would have put the 1 hour on the bottom, forget to cross it out, and they would have gotten a trap answer. So please, before you move on, just double check that one of the units you want to cancel is on opposite sides of the division sign. So hour is on both sides of the division sign, so we can cross it out. And you see we're left with milliliters over seconds, or milliliters per second, which is what we wanted. So now if we go and type this big mess in, we should get, in our calculator, we should get the answer, which rounded to the nearest tenth is 126.2 milliliters per second. So very similar to what we were just doing. It's just that kind of extra step where you have to like cancel something out like kind of across the aisle. That can be kind of confusing. So just do some practice. Make sure you get used to that. All right, let's do one more problem at the board. Okay, so for this problem, we got a plane is traveling at a speed of 660 feet per second. What is the speed of the plane in miles per hour? And they tell us 5,208 feet in 1 mile. And I see we're going to have to change seconds to hours. So we should first, before we do anything, write down the other unit conversion we need, which is 3,600 seconds equals 1 hour. That's just something we should know. Okay, so we're gonna first write down what we're given. So 660 feet per second. And it doesn't matter which we tackle first. Why don't I do the feet first? So I'm going to put 5,280 feet on the bottom and 1 mile on the top. We're using this one because that one is the one that has feet in it. And they are on opposite sides of the division sign, so the feet, it's the same unit on both sides, so it cancels out. And now we have miles per second. But we don't want miles per second, we want miles per hour. So we're going to make another unit conversion. And I can kind of, again, if I want, just cross that out. I'm not using that one anymore. Okay, so we're going to put 3,600 seconds on the top. And 1 hour on the bottom. Very strange. It's kind of like the opposite of what we were doing before, but again, just make sure always that they're on opposite sides of the fence. So seconds is on opposite sides of the fence, so we can cross that out and cross that out. And now we're left with miles per hour, which is what we wanted. So if we go and type this big mess in, we should get our answer. So let's try that. So 661 over 5280, 3600 over 1, and we get 450. So our answer is 450 miles per hour. Very similar to what we were doing before. Again, just that you got to remember your time conversions, and it's a little strange, like I said, canceling out something kind of like across the row here. A little strange, takes some getting used to, but pretty much the same idea. All right, let's move on to the next skill. Okay, so skill number 5 is square unit conversions. And I promise you, these are not so bad. Everyone gets them wrong. I promise you they're not so bad. You just need to pay attention, and you need to see an example so you know what to do. So, let's look at this problem. We have a carpet with an area of 5 square feet. What is the area of the carpet in square inches? So many people would just straight away try to do what we did before. But you see, these units, square feet and foot, they don't cancel because they're not the same thing. One of them is a unit of length, and one of them is a unit of area. They need to look exactly the same, minus this whole singular plural English thing we do with feet. They need to look pretty much exactly the same for us to be able to cross them out. So many people would have said 60 for this one, and that would be wrong. So what we just did on screen, this is just a common mistake. This is not right. Do not ever do this. So there's something you got to do first, which is you have to change the unit conversion into square units. So they told us 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So what you're going to do is to get square inches and square feet is you're going to square both sides of the equation, which is a valid algebra operation. So unit of rules of exponents now tells us that we can distribute that power of 2 to both the unit and the number. So we're going to write 12 squared inches squared equals 1 squared foot squared. 12 squared inches squared, 1 squared is just 1, so you can call that 1 foot squared. And if you want, you can change the 12 squared to 144 if that's easier for you. So really either of those at the bottom are fine to use. I don't know, I personally like to use the 144, but like when they give me like a problem with like a decimal, I'll usually just write like 0.7 squared into my calculator just because that's easier. I don't know, for the sake of consistency, I'm going to use this top one. Just do whatever works for you. If you want to quickly type the decimal in and square it on your calculator before you move on, that's fine. Just pick away and stick to it. So we now know that there's 12 squared inches squared in a foot squared. Now, after we do that, we do the factor label method just like before. So 12 squared inches squared equals 1 foot squared. They told us 5 square feet, or 5 feet squared. And we're going to put 1 foot squared on the bottom, 12 squared inches squared on the top. The foot squared and feet squared, now that they're the same unit, and they're on opposite sides of the division sign, they cancel. And we put that in our calculator, 5 times 12 squared over 1. And we should get 720 inches squared, or 720 square inches. Let's do another example at the board. Oh, almost forgot everyone before we do the example. I have this slide here that just recaps. This might be kind of confusing if you're an international student because you might refer to like area and volume units differently. And so I just wanted to make sure we're clear on this. So if you see like square in front of a unit, that means the unit is to the power of 2. So in this example, square inches means inches squared. If you see on the SAT, for example, cubic centimeters, that would be centimeters cubed, or to the power of 3. So see how square tells us the unit is to the power of 2, and cubic tells us the unit is to the power of 3. So just make sure that you understand that going into the test, because the way they write it using words might not be the most intuitive if you're more of a numbers person. All right, let's do the example now. Okay, so for this one, they tell us we've got 2.3 square miles, which I'm going to just write as miles squared. And we don't have a unit conversion with square miles. We just have miles. So we're going to do what we talked about before. We're going to square both sides of the unit conversion. And we get 1 squared, which is just 1 kilometer squared, equals 0.62 squared miles squared. And now that's going to be our unit conversion. So now we do the factor label method. And we're going to put 0.62 squared miles squared, and then 1 kilometer squared. And now that they're the same on opposite sides of the division sign, we can cross out miles squared, and we're left with kilometers squared. So now we just have to put, or square kilometers, as the question phrases it. So now we just need to type in 2.3 times 1 over blah, blah, blah. Let's do that. So 2.3, parenthesis 1 over 0.62 squared. And we get that. If you wanted to, again, quickly just type in 0.62 squared and then just put that in instead of 0.62 squared. That is fine. Just do what works for you. Like I said, with decimals, it doesn't really make the problem any easier for me. So this one says to round to the nearest hundredth, so we're going to say 5.98. Square kilometers. Or if you want to just write that as kilometers squared. All right, awesome job. Let's go back to the slides. Okay, everybody, we're going to get ready to do the final review now. So please make sure you remember to download the free final review worksheet using the link in the description. Try to complete the worksheet yourself before watching the rest of the video. And remember to be on the lookout for a pinned comment on this video with more helpful links about today's topic. Let's go back to the whiteboard and finish the final review. Okay, this first one, not really much going on here. It just kind of wants us to use our knowledge of units to figure out what to do. So it says square feet of grass per minute. So we're going to do square feet. Remember, per means divide per minute. So we're going to put the 450 square feet on the top. You could write it as feet squared if you want. Over 20 minutes. And let's see what that gives us. So 450 over 20. That's 22.5 square feet per minute, which is our answer. All right, very good. Okay, now we're getting into the factor label method, which is the bulk of what we did today. So we've got 8,046.7 meters, and I'm going to put the meters from the unit conversion on the bottom here. And I'm going to put the 1 mile on the top. And now I just check, okay, are they on opposite sides of the division sign? Meters, they are. It's the same unit on the opposite side, so I can cross it out. And I am left with miles, which is what we want, so that is good. So now I just need to put that into a calculator. So let's do that. So 8,046.7, 1 over 1609.34, and I get 5. So this guy is 5 miles, which is our answer. Okay, question 3. So it says a phone has a mass of 0.175 kilograms. And we only have one unit conversion, so I don't really need to think too much about it, but just check. Okay, it's got kilograms in it, so we can use it. And I'm going to put 1 kilogram on the bottom and 1,000 grams on the top. Okay, do I have something on opposite sides division sign that cancel? Yep, kilograms are the same on both sides, so those go away. And we're left with grams, which is what we want. So we can now kind of forget about all this and go to the calculator. And again, 0.175 times 1,000 over 1. Going to put it in, even though it might seem a little silly for this one, going to put it in exactly as written, just so I don't make a careless mistake. And I get 175 grams, which is our answer. All right, this one gave us 2. So we have to do a multi-step unit conversion. So 120 yards. Do I have a unit conversion with yards in it? Yes, I do. This one. So I'm going to put 1 yard on the bottom and 3 feet on the top. And do the units cancel? Yes, they do. And I also don't need this guy anymore, so why don't I just cross him out? And do we have a unit conversion with feet in it? Yes, we do, so we're going to use that one. And I'm going to put 1 foot on the bottom and 12 inches on the top. And feet is on opposite side division side, so it cancels. So now we just have to go and put this in here. So 120, 3 over 1, 12 over 1, and we get 4,320 inches, which should be our answer. All right, very good. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, backyard has an area of 43,560 feet squared. And notice how this one's a little different. They already gave it to us in square feet, so we don't need to square it. We can just use it. So that works out pretty nicely. So 9 square feet, or feet squared, 1 yard squared, and again, feet squared is the same on both sides, so we can cancel that out. So now we just need to go and do 43,560 1 over 9, and we get 4,840. So 4,840 square yards or yards squared. So just because you see the word square doesn't mean you necessarily have to square it. Always check first. If the unit conversion doesn't match, you probably have to do something to it. But we got lucky with this one. They did match, so we're all good. All right, question 6. Okay, they weigh 220 pounds. What's their mass/weight in kilograms? Okay, so we're going to do, if it's all right, I'm going to use abbreviations for this one. G is grams, kg is kilogram. So pounds, do we have a unit conversion with pounds in it? We do, so we're going to use that one. Going to put 1 pound on the bottom, 454 grams, G on top. Do pounds cancel? They do. We have grams, but we don't want grams. We want kilograms. Let's cross this one out because we're done using them. And 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. So I'm going to put 1,000 grams on the bottom and 1 kilogram kg on the top. And grams is the same on both sides. So that cancels. And we're left with kilograms, which is what we want. So now we can go to the calculator and type in 220, 454 over 1 over 1,000. And we get 99.88 kilograms or kg. All right, let's move on to question 7. A couple more left. A tank is being emptied at 57 quarts per hour. Okay, let's write that down. 57 quarts per hour. And let's see, we have some mention of seconds and hours. So we should probably write down the other unit conversion that we need, which is 3,600 seconds equals 1 hour. Just use S for second. It doesn't matter. You can write whatever you want. Okay, so why don't I do the quarts first? So I'm going to put 1 quart again. So we have quarts. So quarts is in here, so we're going to use that one. So 1 quart and 0.95 liter. And let's see, I have quarts on opposite sides division sign, so it cancels. And now we're going to kind of from across the way convert the hours. So let's see, so I'm going to put 1 hour on the top and 3,600 seconds on the bottom. Hour is in opposite sides of division sign, so it does cancel. And we are left with liters per second, which is what we wanted, liters per second. So that looks really good. So now we just have to type this all in and just remember to round to the thousandth. So 57, 0.95 over 1 over 3,600. And we get 0.015. That's the thousandth. So 0.015 liters per second. Very good. All right, let's look at question 8. So 85, 93.5 square inches or inches squared. And I'm going to notice right away that there is no conversion factor with square inches. It just has inch. So we have to do what we did before, which is we have to square both sides of the unit conversion to get square units. So we get 1 squared, which is 1 inches squared, and 2.54 squared centimeters squared. So that's actually going to be our conversion factor. And now we can do the factor label method. So I'm going to put 1 inches squared on the bottom and then 2.54 squared centimeters squared on the top. Inches squared is on opposite sides of the division side, so that's going to cancel. We're left with centimeters squared or square centimeters, which is what we want. So now we can jump to the calculator. And let's see what that is. So 93.5, 2.54 squared over 1. And it says to round to the 10th. So I'm going to say 603.2, looks like. 603.2 centimeters squared or square centimeters. So just always make sure, guys, that you square or cube the unit conversion accordingly if you have to. All right, that one looks good. Let me just double check 603.2. Yep, let's get rid of all this. All right, 2 more. All right, so we got 45 square yards per minute. I'm going to use abbreviations again just to make it a little bit easier for me. So abbreviation for yard is YD squared, so square, per minute, min. Interestingly enough, it seems like we don't have square yards. So this is a rate unit conversion, but it's also a square unit conversion. So we have to do both. So let's first square both sides of this thing. And we get 3 squared. How about I just make that 9? Because that comes out nicely. And then 1 squared, which is just 1 yard squared. So that's a conversion factor. And then we also need to do minutes and seconds. So there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. That's just one we should know. Let's write that down too. Okay, let's get started. So how about I do the square yards first? So 1 yard squared is going to go on the bottom, and 9 feet squared is going to go on the top. And yard squared is on opposite sides of the division sign, so it cancels. And now we have feet squared per minute, but we don't want feet squared per minute. We want feet squared per second. So we're going to make another one and kind of convert the time from across the way. And I'm going to put 1 minute on the top, 60 seconds at the bottom. Again, if you guess wrong, guys, just switch them. You got a 50-50 chance of doing it right every time. Let's see. So now minutes is on opposite sides of the division sign. So those guys cancel. And we're left with square feet per second, which is what we want. Square feet per second. So we can now go to the calculator. And let's see what that gives us. So 45, parenthesis 9 over 1, parenthesis 1 over 60, and we get 6.75. So 6.75 feet squared per second. And that is our answer. Great, let's look at question 10. A bathtub can hold a volume of 160 cubic decimeters. Okay, you guys don't need to know this, but just to make it easier for me, I'm going to write the abbreviation for decimeters, which is DM. So, and cubic, remember we said that means to the 3rd power. The unit is to the 3rd power. So I'm going to put DM cubed. And I'm going to look, do I have cubic decimeters in my conversion? No, I don't. So I'm going to have to manipulate that guy. But instead of squaring it, we're going to cube both sides. So we get 3.05 cubed, whatever that is, decimeters cubed, equals 1 cubed, which is just 1 feet cubed. And we're going to use that as our conversion factor. And let's see, so 3.05 cubed decimeters cubed is going to go on the bottom, and then 1 feet cubed is going to go on the top. Once again, do the units cancel? Yes, they do. Decimeters cubed is on both sides. And let's see, we're left with feet cubed or cubic feet, which is what we want. So now we can go straight to the calculator and do, let's get rid of this. We can do 160 parentheses 1 over 3.05 to the third. Type in exactly as written. And it wants us to round to the nearest tenth. So I guess that would be about 5.6. So 5.6 feet cubed or cubic feet is our answer. All right, very good. Let's go back to the whiteboard, to the slides and wrap up. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please comment below your thoughts on the video and worksheet. Did you find them helpful for your studying? As always, please like the video and subscribe for more digital SAT math content. I have way more videos on the way. And if you need tutoring, my website is going to be in the description. I tutor SAT math and all math subjects from about 7th grade to AP/early college level. Thanks for stopping by, and good luck studying.